Today's spooky spot, we're having a look at the McFarlane Monsters, classic characters with horrifying twists. We'll be having a look today at Dracula. This was a line of monster, as McFarlane Toys usually did, monster characters with their own twist. So they've taken classic characters and given them that McFarlane-esque look, kind of the same way that they did with the Land of Oz figures. And the snow, the snow character and winter characters that we had to look at as well. Dracula does come with a couple of rats. He comes with also a bat. He comes with a fair bit from the looks of it. Some really neat artwork on the side there. McFarlane's Monsters. There's Dracula there. If we flip around the back of the package, to see McFarlane's entire 2002 online catalog, you can go to www.spawn.com. The read-up says, when you think McFarlane thinks monsters, when you think McFarlane, think monsters. I didn't see the comment there. I honestly didn't see the comment. This line of action figures features McFarlane Toys' unique take on classic horror icons. Collect all 6 and be terrified. Those 6 figures consist of Frankenstein, Sea Creature, Mummy, Voodoo Queen, Dracula, and Werewolf. Spot has, well actually I think about 4 of these, so we're going to be going through these during this terrifying month of Spotober. Down below it also says look inside for other lines only from McFarlane Toys. Don't worry, I'll do that. I'll do that. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at the McFarlane Toys, the McFarlane Monsters, Dracula. Don't go anywhere, guys. There's more heading your way. Stay tuned. As we look at Dracula here, it's very prevalent, it's very obvious that McFarlane Toys loves chains. He puts chains on a lot of his figures, and I would say Dracula has met his quota when it comes to chains all over him. Dracula has all these hooks and chains around his belt. He's got little areas on his body where he has these hooked on chains hanging down from his body. I feel as if Dracula doesn't read so much a vampire to me as he reads more a werewolf. Now granted, he does have all the aspects to what you would expect from a vampire bat. The kind of that pig nose, the hooked ears. But for some reason he reads more to me like a werewolf. He's got all these little holes and all these little pegs on the backs of him, on the back of him. Because he comes with all these little rat friends. Now, I don't know if they're rat friends, but a lot of them have like little pegs. And you can take the rats and peg them into, just into those slots right there. He comes with a fair number of them too. Some of them don't look like they actually have any sort of peg points to them. So maybe you could kind of just have them on the arms. For example, this, whoops, for one of them, Spot keeps dropping these rats. One of them is really chewed up, so I don't know if that is Dracula's maybe living off of these rats. I don't really know. But there's another one that's got like a peg point, and there's no instructions either. So like for that peg, you just kind of have to line it up with a peg that you see on his body, like so. So there's 2 of them, and then there's a 3rd peg point. And again, but like a lot of these rats don't have like actual pegs on them. Again, here, oh, there's another one right there. So there's all 3 of them. Just peg that into place like so. So he has these little rat friends / rat food that he lives off of. Also, too, you'll see of the things hanging from Dracula are all these little bats. I don't know if these bats are alive. I would think if Dracula, his one mission would be to maintain a bloodline and keep his family alive. But it looks like all these bats have blood all over them, so maybe they're deceased and maybe he's carrying them around with him. But you can see he's got a lot of chains and a lot of hooks cascading down from his body. He's got a total of, well, there's 1 bat there. There's another 2 dangling from the back here. And then actually when you get it out of packaging, there is a loose bat, which looks like it's more alive than the others. And I just took it and I hooked it onto this hook, but I guess realistically you could really hook it onto any one of these chained hooks hanging down from his body. Also too, Dracula does have a another bat, which is very much alive. And detailing on the bat is very nice. He's got his open wings. The way they've sculpted his legs, though, on the bat is so that you can take the bat, and according to the picture, you can take the bat and you can hang it. I want to make sure I got this hanging right here. You can hang it from Dracula's finger. It sounds good on paper. It doesn't quite look as good in person when you get this kind of just hanging down from his finger. It doesn't really quite look like it's hanging as far as it should. And then, of course, you can just kind of adorn his body with the rest of the rats as you so see fit. Like so. This one, though, I guess you could kind of just have him laying around Dracula. He's got some really phenomenal paint and sculpt on him. He would fall under the issue, though, that because he's an older figure, he doesn't have as much articulation as what you would come to find now. But I like what they did with it. I like the little hooks that they've got put into his body. I guess if I can read into this figure, maybe I'm not reading correctly, but if I could read into this figure, maybe the whole thing with Dracula is that he is on the run and he's essentially carrying the remnants of his species with him. So as he's traveling from town to town, he's carrying the bats actually with him. That's what I gauge. But he's got some really neat paint. He's got some blood all over his big bat feet there. One's arched, one isn't. He doesn't come with a display stand, which would have been nice too, but he's a good looking figure. And again, there's once again a close-up look on Dracula's face. Do you see this as vampire? Maybe, yeah. I don't know if I would say I see it as Dracula so much as I see it as just generic, vampire. But he does read a lot like a wolf to me. McFarlane's always been really good with paint, and I have to tip my hat to the paint on this figure. The blood running down his chin, the paint on his eyes, which almost give it, because it's just they've used a shiny black, it reflects very well and gives it that life that it may have not otherwise had. But you can see all the paint, and he's got like little gashes and little blood marks here where he's probably feuded or attacked, some poor victim. You can have kind of his arms up, simulating as if he's attacked somebody. The chains, though, are a nice touch. A little excessive, yes, but a nice touch nonetheless. He does also come with this. He comes with like a little cloak. Now, you may not be able to get all the rats on his back and then also still put the cloak on him. It might knock, I'm thinking it might knock some of the rats down, but you can put the cloak on it. It's very Spawn-esque, the way that they've got this cloak. Actually, right down to the peaked collars. Very, very reminiscent of Spawn. In fact, actually, they've even got the almost like the badges, what would be holding his chains, very similar to what you would see with Spawn. But the look of it looks like, because it's got the claws and everything else to it, it looks like it's been stitched together from existing flesh. Now, where these claws may have come in, I don't know, because there's probably not a lot of species out there, I would think, that have these claws, unless, again, he's tailored it from maybe other vampires, other deceased vampires. Dracula has stitched together the remains of it, and he's essentially just a traveling, lone survivor, or perhaps he's the last thing that's carrying around the remains of the vampire species. Whether it's successful as Dracula or versus just a vampire, it's neat looking, and I'll take nothing away from the fact that it's a neat looking piece. The one thing you will find, though, is that the hooks tend to want to hook onto a lot of things. But there you have Dracula. He's, again, really, really neat. His articulation, if I hopefully don't knock his cloak over, his articulation is he has a swivel in the head, though it swivels really only on an angle. He has swiveled arms, which they do really only, they're only really swiveling really from the bicep area. This one arm does actually move up. This arm doesn't, though. It's sculpted to be a certain way. But it swivels at the forearm, and then